I stayed at Fisk 3 years, and then I transferred to Langston and studied with the late Mrs. Amelia Taylor.
Mrs. Amelia Taylor, who could make a piano walk?
Well, Mrs. Taylor was just all around musically, plus she was an all around person. And she was my piano teacher, and she saw me to finish and get my degree from the great University of Langston.
Okay, now once you got your degree in music?
Right. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, once you got your degree, did you have a problem getting a job?
Oh, let's don't go into that.
Okay, well, I have the answer. It's very difficult, and some of you young people that's listening
I'll
out
tell you
there.
someone who saved me. Could I go that far?
Yes.
Okay, I taught piano from 50 to 58. Mr. Moon called me and simply asked me by phone, did I want a job? And I somewhat hesitated because I was doing very well with 75 piano students.
You had 75 piano
Yes,
students.
Yes. Mrs. Kimbrough and I were great friends, and we talked together. And we had planned at that time to emerge and have a studio. And her strong points she would teach, and my strong points I would teach. Like
And that's Mrs. Johnny Kimbrough.
Oh, yes.
You're really giving the Zeta some good publicity today.
Well, now, those sororities and fraternities.
Yeah, but I'm just talking about the people whose names that you have called. Now, Johnny Kimbrough went on to establish a musical school of her own, and she's done extremely well.
That's not enough words, adjectives to describe how well she has done, because many of her students were accompanists for the choirs at Douglas High School.
Oh, quite an honor.
Oh, yes, quite a few. So, when Mr. Moon called me, so he asked me, suppose you would have the opportunity to teach at Douglas.
Oh, Mr. Moon asked you to teach at Douglas High School?
Yes.
Okay.
And it was just that simple.
All right. Now, you were teaching music at Douglas High School, and I'm sure you had a lot of students that were not musical inclined. What did you do with them? Kick them out until they couldn't sing?
Until we agreed on being nice. Is this on radio?
Yes, you're on radio.
Oh, well, I'll be careful. I taught them until we decided that they wanted to go in other things, so I decided for them.
Okay, but you stayed. Now tell me, do you remember your first choir at Douglas High School?
Oh, yes.
Tell me about it.
Now.
Tell me about it.
Well, it was a very select choir. The late Dr. Strong, she was Mrs. Strong, then was a very sensitive and a very responsible person. Many people didn't understand her. I did. She was very precocious, and she was just a brilliant woman. And I'm looking at that choir that I failed air to. It was small. The special choir was small. It was a great choir. I just wasn't a great teacher at that time. I was scared to death.
I can understand.
So I'm looking at the picture. I have all the choirs on my wall. So
all of the choirs that you have had, you have on your wall.
Surely. Mm-hmm.
Oh,
know them very well.
And stay in contact with them?
Well, many. Sure. Many of the former students I do.
I understand that you will be honored on December the 18th at 3:30 p.m.
They tell me all of this.
I'm going to tell you. Let me tell you. All of your former students that you have taught to sing are going to be singing.
Right.
And they are so excited about it. I'm telling you.
Excited about it. Now, if anything means something, that means a lot to me. I just hope I can live through all of this. I hope.
Well, one thing I'm going to tell you, you better not die before December the 18th, because I want to really cover that story, because that's going to be a big one. And I don't know how to feel, because one thing about it, I have received over 250 awards, and I haven't received one in singing.
You see, you are you're so great. You fit into those types.
But I want to sing. I want to sing.
Well, I really feel that anyone can carry a tune. You ask some of the
I can
questions.
carry a tune if you put it in a bucket and give it to me. Okay, now let me get serious for a minute.
Okay.
On December the 18th at the Tabernacle Baptist Church located at 1828 Northeast 36th Street,
Right. Mm-hmm.
Leroy Hicks will be honored. And I would ask those of you out in radio land, those of you that have been touched by the teaching hand of a Leroy Hicks, I want you to be present. I get so tired of people waiting until somebody dies and then start honoring them. Because I'm going to tell you now up front, I want all of my stuff while I'm living. Because when I die, I will have 3 flowers on my casket, and they will represent 3 different phases of my life. One will represent my BD degree. That's I was born black degree. That's the first one. Well, I'll tell you more about that next week. But I know you would like to take this opportunity to thank the many friends that have called and those that are getting ready to honor you in a way that no other musician in Oklahoma City has been honored.
Well, that's hard to believe. First of all, let me say I'm still pinching myself. Is it true? And the Lord knows I'm very grateful. I'm very thankful. I have a Christian mother. She's 86 and she's moving right along very well. And we are so grateful that this has happened. But it didn't happen for me by myself. All of those hundreds of students I taught, church, community, all of that is a part. No one person I cannot accept that alone. I know I'm going to have to, but deep down, I can't. There's too many people that fitted in my life. Even those who kicked me, they go along with it, too, because those who did a little kicking, they boosted me to have that certain godly confidence to move on.
So well, you're certainly moved on. And let me tell you, there are a lot of mothers out there that wish you were their mother. You were their son.
Their mother?
No, I'm saying that there were a lot of mothers out there who wish that you were their son, because one thing that you have done all these years, you've never neglected your mother.
Oh, no. That's the backbone. Some people want to know why I didn't marry. And then there are some people I wonder why did they marry.
Wait a minute now. I'm a marriage consultant.
Well, what I'm saying is some of the people who have worried about my being married, and then I look at some of those who are married, and I wonder to myself, now I'm just talking about a precious few, why did they get married? So my being single has not hurt me at all. And
well, you won't be singing along after today, because those ladies all over the state are going to be calling you. Well, ladies, you heard him. I want you to get in contact. You have a chance. One thing for sure.
Don't start something.
No, I'm not going to start anything. I'm just reporting the news. You were the one brought up being married. I didn't bring that issue up.
You said so many mothers would vote, so I just wanted to let it be known that there are some single people who are happy and good citizens. I mean. And some of us single people probably have helped some of the married people stay.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
But anyway, ladies of Radio Land, Leroy Hicks is available. And one thing I have learned from being in Hoffman, Oklahoma, that the best fish as yet has not been caught out of the Deep Fork River. Mr. Hicks, you have certainly honored me today with your presence.
Well, Luper, after the initial shock, I have enjoyed it, and I'm really appreciative, and I'm grateful to you. You're a great lady. Whether you get your flowers from all, you still did it. It doesn't matter for those who didn't want to recognize you or don't want to recognize you. Still a great lady. And as a result of what all of us are enjoying, when I walk in a store, I personally think of you. I really do. So well,
every time I hear a song, I think of you. And since my record is warped, I'm going to have to buy me another one. Where can people buy some more of those Douglas records?
Well, they are few in number, but If I have several here, I will give them to you.
Okay,
What do
because
you
I
think?
would really like to play it on
Well,
my
I
radio
will.
show next Saturday.
Well, I don't know about all that, but I will see that you, if I got some more, that you get them, get one or several personally. And love to you and your family.
Well,
And
thank
I'm
you so
very
very kindly,
appreciative.
and have a Merry Christmas, and I know you'll be looking good next Sunday when you're honored.
I'll do the
Okay.
best I can.
Okay,
Thank you.
okay, bye-bye. That was Leroy Hicks. According to some, the best loved music teacher in Oklahoma City. I can say one thing. I don't know where you can find one that can beat him. I'm telling you, Leroy Hicks is all right. As Christmas approaches, you might need some typing done. Be sure and call Jeannie. The telephone number is 427-0082, or you may drop by her office at 2116 Northeast 23rd Street. This program is being made possible by Tom's Oakland Barbecue, the home of satisfied customers, where they specialize in barbecue ribs and barbecue beef. I'm waiting for Mr. Sammy Davis to call me at 478-2103. Mr. Sammy Davis. Holiday greetings from Terrace Gardens here in Oklahoma City. They would like for you to remember that they appreciate the fact that you have been with them. You have given of your time, and many of you have volunteered to go up to Terrace Garden. And from all at Terrace Garden, they say, have a happy holiday season. Would you like to eat some good lemon pie and sweet potato pie and coconut pie? We'll go to Stale's Restaurant to the 1100 block on Northeast 23rd Street. Stale's Restaurant, open every day except Sunday and Monday. Go by and tell Mr. and Mrs. Stale you heard it on the Clara Luper radio show. Henry Roth Jr. would like to extend holiday greetings to each one of you. And Henry Roth Jr. has a policy, a burial policy that I want you to look at. Now that's Henry Roth Jr. here in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. Congratulations to Mr. Temple as he continues to add on to the Temple Funeral Home. Temple and Son Funeral Home, and when you pass by, I want you to take a look at what is happening, and we will be announcing the date of the big opening. In the meantime, from Mr. Earl Temple and family. And when I say family, many of you out there have been a part of the Temple family, not by blood, but the fact that you are. I would like to extend to each one of you holiday greetings, and may the years continue to be yours. What are we going to do? We are waiting on Mr. Sammy Davis. I do hope he's in Oklahoma City to call me at 478-2103. Shelley, are you ready for our funeral and death announcements? The funeral and death announcements by Shelley.
Temple has Mr. Richard Newton, whose services will be at 3 p.m. today at Mount Olive Church, and Mrs. Willa Ware, whose services are pending. Roth Funeral Home has Mrs. Paralee Kennedy of Oklahoma City, whose services will be 11 a.m. Tuesday at the Roth Memorial Chapel, and Mr. James Reddick, whose services are pending.
Shelley, today and this week has been a sad week at John Marshall High School. We had a patron, a beautiful lady, Mrs. Cleo Bryson, who loved the students at John Marshall High School with a passion. Her grandson, Tony, was a quarterback of the football team. Her services were held today at 1 p.m. And Mrs. Cleo Bryson, many of the young men and women called her Mom. This mom is being laid to rest today. Mrs. Cleo Bryson, one of the strongest patrons of John Marshall High School. The funeral services for Mrs. Bryson was started today at 1 p.m. at the Mount Olive Baptist Church. We send out our sympathy to all of the family. We've just received a call. Mr. Davis will try to call us. He's out on a very important call. What are we going to do for our children? I would like for you to jot down what we must do. We must rescue our children. We must rescue them. When are we going to stop and see how we can rescue our children? We must rescue them from bad grades. Now, I don't want any teachers talking to me about how many kids they flunked. Because if a teacher flunks a lot of kids, that teacher is saying to the world, I'm not a teacher. Now, if you can't teach, you should resign or retire. Rescue our children. If a child experiences failure at home, failure at school, what will happen to him in society? He would fail. Now, it really alarms me when I'm told about the large number of children, especially black children, that are being sent home because the teachers say they can't control them. What's wrong with the teachers that they cannot control children? Now, someone's going to say the parents should do it. That's not the issue. The issue is who will rescue our children. Now, let's take for granted that the parents will not do it. Let's take for granted that the church only sees them once or twice a week. But those of us in education have the opportunity to see young people 5 days a week, and we must rescue them. You say to me, Mrs. Luper, they won't listen, and I ask you a question. Why is it that they will not listen? And I was really surprised as I noticed the Board of Regents voting for higher ACT score. Well, what the Board of Regents maybe do not know is that Hitler had a high score. Adolf Hitler was a great student. They don't know that Mussolini was a great student. It must be something in life must be more important than grades or a test, because there are some students that become nervous and cannot pass a test. It must be something else. That's why I would like to salute Langston University, who took someone like me and said to me, Clara, you're not useless, you are useful. Now, we can say all we want to about how much we know and how many degrees we have. Well, if your degrees have not supplied you with the skills to teach children, and you can only teach children and know that you're teaching by seeing the results. If you can't take bad students and make good students out of them, you aren't teaching. You are teaching. You are not teaching. We've got to rescue our children. Why is it they don't want to come to your classes? Maybe you aren't doing anything in your classes. Well, anyway, I know my teaching friends are going to be very upset with me, but I've got to tell it like it is. And if I'm not teaching, then I should resign. Because after all, we have in front of us a future of America and the present of America. Out of our classrooms must become our leaders, our diplomats, our educators. But how can they come out if you're going to send a child home just because the child, I don't know. I would like to have some reasons, and certainly I would like to invite some of you specialists to come on my radio show and explain to me why you can't do what you're supposed to do. Now, with all of the assistant and principals, what do we do? With all of the guidance people, how are we guiding our children? Somebody's failing, and somebody must rescue our children. They must be rescued. I remember when we were at Dungy, Reverend Parker, Reverend Walker, and other preachers in that area would visit the schools and just walk through the building. Suppose in Oklahoma City we would walk through some of our schools, and maybe we would have something else to preach about except Jonah in the belly of the whale, because many of our kids have been caught in the belly of expulsion, where they are being expelled from school. And when they are expelled from school, what happens? Our crime rate is increasing. We have got to rescue our children. Now, that is a must. We've got to do it. We must have more teachers like Leroy Hicks, who says to those young people that you are somebody's. Now, suppose for a minute, that Mrs. Bro would have looked down on Leroy Hicks. The melodies would not have been present in the hearts and minds of so many of our young people. We've got to rescue our kids. Now, one thing about our state legislators, can you imagine the teachers in Oklahoma getting $1,000 raise, and the legislators, the teachers work 9 months, and during the 9 months they work a regular shift, and then they have to go to games, they have to check term papers, notebooks, they have to check test papers, and they got $1,000 a year. And the legislators who works 3 months a year got $10,000 raise. Wonder how much did the janitors get? How much did the custodians get? Well, I don't know, but I do know that Mrs. Letty Ruth Hunter, the second vice president of the Amigos Club, and who's ready for the night, is here. Mrs. Hunter.
Good afternoon, Mrs. Luper. I was coming in from El Reno, attending our conference there, the area number 209 will be Collins, area number 2, a missionary society conference, and I was on the highway, and I was going to hurry up and get home because I understand that you were dedicating your program to Mr. Leroy Hicks. And I wanted to say congratulations to Mr. Hicks for all of the fine work that he has done during the tenure of his teaching. And I heard you ask Mr. Hicks, did he have a hard time getting the job? And I lost track after that, but he said he didn't want to talk about it. But now I had a hard time getting a job, So to me, Mr. Hicks should have expressed this readily and not felt bad about it, because I had a hard time getting a job, and I went all the way over to Tulsa to get a job, and they said, how old are you? I said, 21. They said, no, you're not 21. I had to go give them a birth certificate to prove that I was 21. So I did have a hard time getting a job.
Oh, I had a hard time getting a job, too.
Right. So jobs were not easy back then, Mr. Hicks, so don't feel that you were in the basketball yourself. Now, you just finished talking about some of the inequities of the schools, and then I used a new terminology that I had not heard on suspensions. I don't remember how you pronounce that word, but I am happy that someone is concerned, and I didn't think anyone was concerned but Mrs. Hunter, because I think our city, and when I said the city, I'm talking about the Oklahoma city of Oklahoma, the entire city, and those who are responsible for our schools and school attendances should see to it that if these kids are going to go home and stay 3 days at home, 4 days at home, what are we teaching? Failures? To me, this is what you're attempting to do. And for the number of suspensions that is being given out in these schools, I'm wondering what are the superintendents of the schools doing, and not only one school, I'm talking about all superintendents that should be responsible in seeing about the schools. I'm wondering if they're really looking at this kind of report. Then when we wonder why...
Where is the report? I want to see a report on a number of students that have been sent home this year.
But what I'm saying, Mrs. Luper, they tell me all of these records that's kept in high school are sent down to the Board of Education. Now, that may not be true, but this is what I was told. You know, like when you send your absentees in the morning, and when students are suspended, they said all of these records are compiled and sent down to the superintendent's office. Now, as to who look at them is what I need to know.
Okay, well, all you have to do, you're on that committee. Why don't you find out?
Well, this is what I'm going to start working on, this equity committee on the suspension of students. Because if I was in the position, the legislature body, I feel they should be concerned. Because if I am going to be paying a certain percent per year for students to go to school, I want them to be in the schoolroom and not back at home. I feel if they're supposed to be in school 180 days, then be in school 180 days, and not suspensions of 5 and 10 days. This is why I wondered, why did they cut out that in-house suspension? Because those students need to be there learning and not out on the streets doing something that they would rather do. Because when you send them home, it's just like putting a rabbit in the briar patch. This is where he wants to be.
Okay.
I think as educators, we should be aware of this. In fact, about it, we should have been aware of it for some time.
Well, what did you
think?
think?
And it already affected teaching, Mrs. Luper, that they were teaching you all. I'm sure in that course they told you this. Now.
Well, what do you think of the fact that the Board of Regents, where we have a black representative, voted to raise the tuition and the test scores?
Mrs. Luper, I have looked on that negatively. Because before we start doing this, I think we need to do some surveying. We need to do some research to see if this is a viable and a feasible thing to do, rather than say this is what we're going to do.
Well,
Then
I want to
what
see the
grounds
board
are
of
they doing this on, other than saying you must be in this upper percent to go to school?
Well, I want to see the test scores on the Board of Regents. Why
That is
can't we
true.
give them a test score and see if they can what they would score on that
Before they
test?
become a member of the Board of Regents. I think that should be true. I think this is what should be done. Just like when they say all teachers take an exam. I'm in favor of the teachers taking an exam. But I want the Board of Education to take the exam first and pass it. Don't say the teachers take an exam. Let the Board of Education take the exam.
Well, I want the Board of Regents of Higher Learning to take the test. Let's see what they will make. And then, too, we are talking about high tuition at a time of high unemployment. Where are we going? Who's going to rescue the children, the poor children?
That's right. We are saying we're going to only educate this upper percent. What are we going to do about the lower
Things to somebody that you want to take care of your business. Otherwise, the state is going to come in and divide your property. Once again, to the senior citizens, I want you to make sure you make out a will. Will your clothes, your insurance, your everything to whoever you want. Otherwise, when you die, you put everybody at a disadvantage. And you set up a situation where the state can really make some money because they can make some money out of your estate. I want you to decide, and you alone, who you want to get your property, your money that's in the bank, your stocks, and your bonds. Now, I want you to make out a will, and it's not anything that's unusual, but it's something that we aren't doing. And I want all of you to check on your insurance. Make sure you have the kind of insurance that will bury you with dignity. And I've had some people that know about insurance to talk to you, but some of you won't listen, and I want you to listen today. Once again, I want you to make a will. Will your property. Will your clothes, your shoes, your stockings, your food to whoever you want. Otherwise, the state is going to step in and do it for you, and the state will get most of the money. Now, you're going to have to decide who you want to be an administrator of your will. You've got to trust someone, because when you die, you can't tell people what you intended to do, and that is an emergency. And when we speak of deaths, we know we have young people that's dying too. And I'm sure you young people, with all of your educational opportunities, you have made out your will because you realize that you might die too. So let's face the facts of life. Let's look at life as it is. And life is certainly death. Life is a book. The cover of the book says birth. But then you've got to look on the back cover, which says death. Let us help you. Now, if you don't know what to do, trust someone. You've got to trust someone. This is the Clara Luper Radio Show, and today I'm going to dedicate my program to two young men. Sammy Davis, the owner of the McKay Davis Funeral Home, and Leroy Hicks, a pioneer in the musical field and in the field of education. Wherever you are, Sammy Davis, wherever you are, Leroy Hicks, this is your program. And from Douglas School at its best, the Interdenominational Gospel Choir, I'm going to play some favorite songs of yours. Fill My Cup with Miss Rose Nunnally as a soloist. He included me with Z. Braggs. I Can't Help But Serve the Lord with Pamela Broadnax. Oh Happy Day with Ben Kendricks as a soloist. Today's program is dedicated to Sammy Davis and Leroy Hicks. Some have called Leroy Hicks the most loved music teacher in Oklahoma. Others have called him a friend. But today I'm going to call him that one of the men that I'm dedicating this program to. Happiness has come to so many because of Leroy Hicks. Once again, some have called him Oklahoma City's most loved music teacher. Many of your students years back continue to visit him and call him their best friend. Others say that because of Leroy Hicks, they have been able to stay in school. This is your program, Leroy Hicks, and who can handle that piano or the organ any better than Leroy Hicks? I want to really dedicate this to Sammy Davis. Sammy Davis, who took can't and threw the T away and apostrophe and made can, who has climbed the mountain of success. And from all of us here at KBYE, as our holiday special, we are saying thank you to Leroy Hicks and thank you to Sammy Davis. Now, what better way to say thank you than with music? And if I could get my music going, I'm having a problem, and it's a serious problem. Alicia, what's wrong with my record? Is it all right? Is it all right?
No, it's not. It's ripped.
My record is ripped. Isn't that something? My record of Douglas High School at its best is ripped. It's warped, Alicia tells me, and therefore I cannot play that song. But anyway, I can tell you that this is the Clara Luper radio show, and here's Shelley with the sports. All for you. Shelley and the sports.
The girls' basketball scores are the Lady Moore's basketball team defeated Mustang 42-28. Southeast defeated Western Heights 39-37. Putnam West over Putnam City 59-24. Westmore was defeated by Midwest City 75-44. Owasso defeated the Lady Falcons of Millwood 41-37. And Northwest Classen defeated Northeast 44-33. In boys' scores, Moore defeated Mustang 64-47. Northwest defeated Northeast 56-55. Putnam West beat Putnam City 48-42. The Star Spencer Bobcats beat Pampa, Texas 76-40. Enid was defeated by Guthrie 47-44. Westmore over Midwest City 62-58, and Lot Mac over Millwood 43-41.
Shelley, you have not completed your report. If you can remember last week, you were telling me about the John Marshall and Northeast High School game. If I can remember correctly, you told my radio audience that Northeast High School would defeat John Marshall High School.
Our girls defeated the John
No, we were not talking about the girls. We were talking about the boys. Now, you told the people that.
I know. I would like to publicly apologize because the John Marshall Bears did defeat the Northeast Vikings, but the girls won.
No, we aren't talking about the girls. We are talking about the boys. And I think you should congratulate to Mr. Charles Davis and the young men from John Marshall High School.
Congratulations, Coach Davis and Coach Cudjoe and the John Marshall Bears basketball team on their Victory Tuesday. And congratulations to the Lady Vikings of Northeast because our girls did win.
Oh, your girls won, but we were not talking about the girls. We were talking about the boys. Now, Shelley, I think you should admit to the public that you know nothing about how to pick teams. I think you should admit the fact that John Marshall is number one, okay?
Okay. John Marshall, I think John Marshall, since they've defeated the Northeast Vikings, which was hard to do.
Oh, it sure was hard to do. I bet you won't tell the scores. And I'm not going to tell the scores because I don't want to embarrass you, and you are my sports reporter, and I want you to keep working for me. What's going on down the Gordons?
Gordon's grocery specials for the day are 20-pound white potatoes, a bag for $1.79, and you can get 3-liter size Coke for $1.19. And they have plenty of hams, turkeys, and other kinds of meats and vegetables for the holiday season.
Okay, and where is Gordon's located?
Gordon's Grocery is located at 2121 South Portland.
2121 South Portland, here in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. Now, many of you used to go to Burger Brothers. Well, I'm happy to tell you that the same staff is now at Gordon's. Gordon's Grocery, 2121 South Portland. Sherry's Cleaners, your cleaners, located at 4905 North Martin Luther King Avenue here in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. You can take your clothes in the morning, and they will be ready in the evening. That's all at Sherry's Cleaners here in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, 4905 North Martin Luther King Avenue. Remember, Carlos Williams will do the job for you. He's trained, he's professional, he's experienced. Why don't you go to Sherry's Cleaners where there will be no question about your clothes? Everything will be lovely. All at Sherry's Cleaners here in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. As the holiday season approaches, with its good news of love, peace, and brotherhood, Dr. A.L. Dow says to each one of you, I want you to have a happy and a safe holiday. That's Dr. A.L. Dow, 934 Northeast 8th Street. You don't have to worry about whether you need glasses or not. You don't have to complain that the papers are now printed smaller because you cannot see. Go to Dr. A.L. Dow, 934 Northeast 8th Street. Now, some of you say, well, I hate to go to the doctor because I don't have any money. Call Dr. Dow at 235-0536. Now, once again, that number is 235-0536 here in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. Some have called him Oklahoma City's most loved music teacher. Many of his students call him a brother and a friend. What do you know about Leroy Hicks? Do you know that his former students are still talking? They are talking about his winning choirs over the years, the albums that he has produced, and some of the best youth talent shows in this city. Hicks have seen some of his students go on to be successful composers and professional singers. And I will be talking to him today. That's to Leroy Hicks, and I will also talk to a man that has one of the most successful businesses in Oklahoma City, Mr. Sam Davis. My telephone number is 478-2103. Once again, my telephone number is 478-2103 here in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. Don't forget now, Sherry's Cleaners, 4905 North Martin Luther King Avenue here in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. Tonight will be a big night for the Amigos Club as they celebrate to their 48th Christmas party. According to Mrs. Dorothy McLaughlin, everything is ready. According to Mrs. Johnny Jones, the records are ready. The records, the historical records of the Amigos Club. Yes, tonight is a big night. Mrs. Rosetta Coleman has stated as chairperson of the program committee that everything is ready. Mrs. Letty Ruth Hunter will be all smiles tonight because as chairperson of the membership committee, the Amigos Club will open its door to receive younger and more, and when I say younger, I mean members, because the Amigos Club members are all young ladies. Mrs. Rosie Brown says everything is ready. Mr. Risa Brown has told us that she will be on hand tonight. So those of you that are friends of the Amigas Club, this is the night of the big Christmas party. The vice president is Mrs. Rosetta Coleman. The secretary is Dorothy McLaughlin. The treasurer is ready tonight, Mrs. Jamie Lurks. Mrs. David Lee Irvin, the best record keeper in town, is ready with her financial reports as a financial secretary. The assistant secretary, Mrs. Nancy Davis, has everything in order and ready to go. Mrs. Johnny Jones, a parliamentarian, says, I am ready for the party. That party will start at exactly 7 p.m. tonight, and the family will open its doors, the Amigas family, to new members that will be inducted into one of the most successful and oldest clubs in Oklahoma City. Can you imagine a club born in 1949, still in existence? That is really commendable. Now, I hope I got it right. I think it's the 39th Christmas party, and that's right. It's the 39th Christmas party because the Amigas Club will be 40 years old in March, and I will be telling you about a 40-year special that they will do. As the Christmas season approaches, with its message of love, of hope, and of peace, let us turn now to those that would like to say to each one of you, wherever you are, Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas from the Gates Barber Shop, located at 2906 North Martin Luther King Avenue. From Mr. Gates and Mr. Gamble to all of you, not only do we appreciate your business, we've had the opportunity to serve you for many years, but we want to pause now during this eventful holiday season and say Merry Christmas to each one of you. Merry Christmas from Carbon Realty Company, Mr. Carl Carbon, who stands tall in his field and who is willing to help you with your housing problems. All you will have to do is to call Carbon Realty Company here in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. Holiday greetings from the Soloway Auto Supply Company, located on Northeast 23rd Street. The Soloway Auto Supply Company says to each one of you, wherever you are, Merry Christmas and a happy holiday season. Merry Christmas to you wherever you are. You are my constituents, and I've tried my best to serve you well. With the coming of the holiday season, I would like to say to each one of you, Merry Christmas, and may this be your greatest Christmas. What's in style this Christmas? I would like to know, if you were 10 years old and you would like, what would you like for Christmas if you were 10 years old? Now let me skip 10 more years. If you're 20 years old, what would you want for Christmas? If you're 40 years old, what do you want for Christmas? If you're 60 years old, what do you want for Christmas? If you are 80 years old, what do you want for Christmas? Or if you are 100 years old, let me know what you want for Christmas. I wonder how many people do we have in Oklahoma City who are 100 years old. I wonder. I do not know. This is the Clara Luper radio show, and today's show is dedicated to Sammy Davis and Leroy Hicks. I brought music out from Douglas High School, and my record is warped and I cannot play it. In the meantime, here's Alicia with her news.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is Alicia Hildred bringing you some good news. If you need insurance, call Merlin Hildred at 848-7470 or 427-8399 or stop by at Allstate at 9228 North May Avenue. She sells life insurance, home insurance, and car insurance. This is Alicia Hildred bringing you some good news and a Merry Christmas and a Happy Holiday season.
Thank you, Alicia. Today's program is dedicated to Mr. Leroy Hicks. There are many words in which we could describe Mr. Hicks. Humble, kind, understanding, and a man that's willing to do the best we can. But today I'm dedicating part of my program to him because he has been called Oklahoma City's most loved music teacher. Mr. Hicks, how are you today?
Fine, Mrs. Luper. How are you?
Well, I
heard what you said.
Well, I am just honored today, and all over this state, the people are listening and wondering about Mr. Leroy Hicks. Did you know that you are considered as Oklahoma City's most loved music teacher?
No.
Well, I'm telling you.
Well, that's an honor. That's an honor within itself.
Well,
I appreciate it very much.
Well, it is an honor just for me to know you and to have talked to you and have watched you through the years. And what I'm doing, Mr. Hicks, I want to get the message across that in Oklahoma City, we have so many unsung heroes. And if we can take the life of a Leroy Hicks and point it up to our young people, we may change the history of our young people. You know, recently I have been visiting various prisons and other institutions, and I have seen young people crying out for models. That's why I'm doing this today, for the young people all over Oklahoma. Now let's talk about Leroy Hicks. Where did you attend school, high school?
I attended Douglas High School, Oklahoma City.
You mean to tell me you attended Douglas High School produced a Leroy Hicks? Well, that is really something.
Okay.
Well, I'm a graduate from Grayson High School, and I graduated in the top 5 of my class. However, there were only 5 in my class. Now, where did you graduate? Hello? Leroy? Hello? Hello?
Hello.
Okay, I lost you for a minute.
Oh, well, I couldn't hear you.
Okay?
Okay.
I just told you that I graduated from Grayson High School, Grayson, Oklahoma. I graduated in the top 5 of my class. There were only 5 in my class.
Oh,
now, how did you graduate? About how many was in your graduating class?
There were 88. 44 young men, 44 young ladies.
You mean to tell me there were 55%? I mean 50% of men that graduated from Douglas High School with you?
Well, yes, it was equal. 44 young men, 44 young ladies.
Okay, now, do you remember any of your teachers at Douglas High School?
Oh, yes. I hate to start calling names because you know how that goes. You leave someone out, but the name that would stand most prominently in my mind would be the late Mrs. Zia and Bro.
Oh, yes, she's in music, and you...
Yes, in high school, because there were some teachers who came before Mrs. Bro.
Okay, now let's talk about Mrs. Bro.
Oh, yes.
I notice now every time I see Douglas's band, I get terribly upset because, and this is Clara Luper talking, and all you Douglas graduates, you can get on my back. But I get awfully upset when I see Douglas's band. I remember the bands of the past, under Mr. Perry, under Mr. Buford, and under Mrs. Bro. And I don't see how the people in Oklahoma City can sit back and, oh, well, I better not say that, but I got to say it anyway. I don't like it because of the condition of Douglas's band now. I think the public should do something about it.
Well, may I say this?
Yeah, sure.
I think now we can look toward the future. The band is under auspices of Mr. Kohler Johnson. And the young man he's also the band director at Moon. He's only been at Douglas for several weeks, and there has been a turnaround. I have so often told people, sometimes when we look on the outside, we can make these judgments, but when you go on the inside, we can see why that situation became as it became. And, well, that's a sort of an involved situation, but I'm happy to say there is a turnaround. The young
Well, I'm
man
sure happy it's a turnaround.
Oh, it is.
I'm sure happy it's a turnaround
It
because
is.
I was out to Langston University and I saw Booker T. Washington's band from Tulsa, and then I saw Douglas's band.
Different situation.
Okay, now,
Situation
Mr. Hicks,
altogether. Yes,
you have told me that Mrs. Bro had an effect on your life. How?
she did.
How?
Well, the Mrs. Bro made me feel that I was somebody. I didn't come up with a silver spoon, if you understand what I'm saying. I was just a little old skinny black boy. And when I got to her, she nourished the talent that other people had seen before. And she pushed me. She pushed me, and I took advantage of it, if that's what you mean.
Okay, now you finished high school at Douglas High School.
Yes.
And then what happened?
Then I had studied piano. My piano began with, I guess you remember the WPA.
Yeah, the Work Progress Administration. I remember it quite well.
I studied with Miss Arita Davis. That was my first teacher.
Yeah, that's my sorority sister.
Yes, well,
Okay.
she started the piano. Then the late Mrs. Farrell and the late Mrs. Sanford from Fairview saw that I had possibly extra talent, and so they prevailed on Mrs. Soretta Finley to give me lessons, which Fairview paid for.
Fairview Baptist Church paid for your music lessons?
Yes, the Brotherhood for 7
Just a minute, now let me make sure. You're telling me that the Brotherhood at Fairview Baptist Church paid for your music lessons?
Oh, yes. Yes, indeed. For
Okay.
7, 8 years. And I studied with this very talented woman. You know, she's very modest. She doesn't like any publicity, but she was one of the finest musicians that Oklahoma City produced.
Great.
So then from there, I went to college.
Where did you go to college?
Well, on an Evelyn Pittman's first scholarship.
Just a minute. Now, here we go again. I'm telling you, we are going round and round. Evelyn Pittman gave you a scholarship?
Yes, yes. That's the lady also in